There we go. Hello. Welcome. It's Monday. Another Monday. Another stream. And of course, as always, another quick sketch. Let me fiddle around with my headset real quick. Okay, I think I'm ready. So, of course, first of all, my day was okay. At least I had something to do at work. That's good. The last few days were kind of calm. Not much going on. But yeah. So at least I have something I can do now. Other than that, nothing really happened. I hope anybody else's day has been great. And I think we can go straight into the quick sketch, because if we have that out of the way, we can go over to the main topic of today, which I'll tell you when we're done with this quick sketch. Let me do this real quick. Let me set up my Blender window real quick. I think it's too large. There we go. Okay, nice. Okay, so first of all, of course, as always, the 30-minute quick sketch. I haven't marked my 3D scanned assets yet, which, like, I wanted to mark the ones I've already used before. Haven't done that yet, so I'll do that probably tomorrow or maybe even today after the stream, depending on how long I'm gonna do, like, I'm gonna stream. Of course, first of all, let me check. I'm uploading a video to Facebook right now. Still takes a while, but shouldn't take too long. Let me grab my random number. Let me pull up my screen share window. Of course, we have to switch to screen cap, so there you go. Now we can see the random number generator, 1 to 34. Let's see. 14. Okay, let's check. What's 14? That's 16, 15, 14. Giant tortoise. We already had that. Let's mark that real quick, so we know that one's already used. Well, how I mark stuff is I go to I think what is it called? I don't even know. I have mine on German, so it's I don't even know what it's called in English. Just go to the last tab, then go to change symbol, and what I use is usually this star right there. Just select that and then okay. And there you go, I've marked it with a little star. So now that that's done, we can look for another one. Let's generate another asset. 34. Oh, the last one. A whale skeleton. Oh, that could be pretty cool. Okay. Let me extract that right there. It's a... what is it? It's an OBJ. Okay, nice. Okay, well, we got our object. Let me switch back to Blender view. There you go. And let's go into... let's close my random number generator of my timer is ready. Also, where's my window with these whale stuff? Okay, let me import my good old whale buddy. My not so alive whale buddy that I'm gonna work with today. There it is. Resources, 3D database. Good old whale skeleton. And there it is. Imported. Maybe you hear it. I've switched the music back to the lo-fi hip-hop music, which is included in Streamlabs. Still loading. Let's see when it's done. You can see these. My cursor came a quadruple 0. That's, I think, at least just an indicator that it's still loading. Sometimes it just disappears when you click somewhere else. Oh, there it is. Okay. We don't need this ball. And we have our nice skeleton. Let's see how big is it? Okay, let's see. We could make this... what happens if we... oh no, if we do that, we can't change... oh, we can, okay. But why? I put the lock on. I've never used these locks. What happens if I use all of them? Okay, well, I I don't know what they do. Let's see. Lock scale, lock editing of scale when transforming. Okay, so, okay, so only when I transform using the scale tool. Okay, well, that's not really useful. First of all, of course, let me close. Oh, we also have some textures. Let's look at those first. So we go to the material preview. We see a lot, but also not very much. That's because we have to plug in our textures, which you can find right there, the normal, and we also have a occlusion map there. Do we have anything else? Maybe in the textures? Nope, that's the same. Okay. So occlusion, of course, is for the color, and the normal is for the normal socket. What we do, of course, first occlusion. How occlusion works is basically just adding a little, like, smaller, darker spots that would be created by the light that's shining on there. But you can also use an occlusion map to make the changes that would happen through occlusion more apparent. Occlusion is basically the light shining onto an object, for example, like a corner, or like where two objects intersect. For example, in here, between here, you can see light would, for example, shine onto this object, then bounce off of this object, hit this object, and then bounce off, and it would just reflect over and over again in this little corner right there, and it would just get dimmer and dimmer, which creates dark spots on this object. I'll show you what it looks like that. So as you can see, in here you have some dark spots, in the middle you have some dark spots, and that's all created using, like, what is called occlusion. You can see some right there. And what we use this for is we just close this. We add a mix RGB node. We can then copy the color from here, and then we plug in the occlusion map in there. There you go. We then plug that in there, or we can also just do it like that. And you can see it mixed it now, but if you mute that, you can see what happens. That's without the occlusion map. That's with the occlusion map. It just adds some slight shadows in there. What we can switch this to is multiply. This should enhance or make the effect stronger. We can put that to 1 to see the full effect. And I think we can even keep it at 1. That looks pretty good. Okay. So let me set up the scene real quick, or make this a little bit smaller, because this is pretty big right now. So what we can do is go in here. I usually keep my dimensions close to 2 meters. I don't really care about the real life size, especially for this stuff, because I don't really want to Google it every time I make one of these quick sketches, because they're supposed to be quick and not a Wikipedia hunt of finding the perfect scale like that. Okay, now we have a baby whale. Isn't too bad. And yep, so we have our occlusion map, and one map is missing, of course, the normal map. Normal map is just used for bumps, basically surface imperfections. Right now this surface is really smooth, and to give it some rough edges and some imperfections, basically, you can add this normal map. I'll show you what it does. We just go into vector, use a normal map node, like the UV map, plug this color into the color, normal into normal. And if you plug the shader in, nothing happens, of course. Sometimes, I don't know why, but this normal map is weird sometimes. But if we mute that, that's it without it, that's with it. I honestly think we don't need the normal map. I don't know if I just plug it in wrong, or if that's just how it's supposed to look like. But I don't think though. I don't think so. I think there's something I'm doing wrong, but I don't want to mess with it right now. Let me just grab that, put that in there, and I think I'm ready to start my 3D my 3D quick sketch. 30 minutes, of course. Let me set up my timer. Timer's ready. And of course, I'm ready when you are. Let me hit record, just so I have this footage right there. And I am ready. 3, 2, 1, and go. Oh, timer's going. Perfect. And we can start. So first of all, let's see what we can do with this. We could maybe... let's see, I haven't really thought about that yet. We could make just an abstract... Actually... Okay, let's make something interesting. Of course, what else? Okay. We could make a... Okay, let's start with a plane. Actually, let's use a cylinder. We change the vertices to 3. We have a triangle now. We can then pull that, rotate it on the x-axis, make it bigger, of course. So this whale is actually fitting in there. Maybe not inside. It should more like, let's delete these front and back faces like that. So we have this nice tunnel and we can work with this. First of all, I'm gonna go in here and maybe, oh, let's change the whale first, because this shouldn't stay like that. It's kind of weird looking at it from the front. Actually, it looks kind of interesting, but I think we can do more with this. Let's hide this for now and let's work on this. First of all, we could maybe... Okay, let's see. How does the geometry look like? Okay. Okay, this one's kind of hard. The good thing about these 3D models usually is the less detail they have, the easier they are to work around. But this one is kind of... I still have to think a bit just to really get an idea what I could do with it. I had a skeleton before, which was a T-Rex skeleton. This one's a little bit more abstract because I don't know, I've never really seen a whale skeleton before. And I think people don't really recognize it at first. So maybe we can just make this a little bit more abstract. So what we can do is just pull that, make it like a 90-degree angle, put it into the middle. Oh, it's actually tilted. Oh, of course, I did that. I have to scale on the, rotate on the x-axis like that. Then move it without moving on the x-axis, right that, like that. And there you go, you have your first whale. And now what we can do is create a plane axis empty. And we can say this object uses an array modifier, like that. And what we can do now with this, we can say object offset, like that. We don't need relative offset, we only need offset, object offset, select the empty. Oh, and there you go. What we have to do is apply the scale, also apply the rotation. And now if we rotate this empty, you can see, ooh, dun, da, da, it rotates around this empty. What I'll do is put this to 360 divided by 3 is 120, right there. And do that. Let's go back to this skeleton, say array times 2. So we have this. Nice. There we go. Okay, that's the first set of skeletons. What we could do with this is first... Ooh. Okay, let's try something. What if we go in here, move this over like that? Maybe even not so much, just a little bit. Okay. No. Okay. This is kind of hard to actually do something good with, but my inspiration hasn't hit me yet. maybe it'll hit me in a few minutes. Okay, what we can do is work with this cylinder, maybe make it bigger, like that, so it includes both or all three of those skeletons. And now what we can do with this is, for example, select this back part, like that, scale it down. Let's see it from this perspective. We could maybe put this to, actually no, we don't. Let's see if that actually looks good. What if we put this to orthographic view, like that? So we have a two-dimensional view basically of the 3D viewport. We can then say, scale it up. There you go. Now pull it up like that, so it's in the middle. And there you go. Okay. Now, actually, I think I'm gonna keep it at perspective, but I'm gonna set the focal length really high, maybe 200. Okay, let's scale this down so it's not too big, and we have to pull this back really far back, like, oh, even further, come on. Okay, I can't even see it anymore. There it is. What if you pull it back further? Like that. Now we can work with this. What we can do first is, for example, go in here, select this, extrude, scale in the middle, Shift X to merge all these 3 points in the middle, pull it forward, like that. Okay. Let's see, okay. Now what we can do is, for example, go in here and make another triangle. Or what we can do is just go in here, select these 3 sides, scale them, extrude them, scale them, maybe like to the fullest it can go until it reaches the end of the camera, like that. Camera has to go a little bit higher, so it includes the top half, the top as well, like that. And there you go. Okay, now what we can do, actually I kind of want to go closer, so maybe make the triangle a little bit smaller, because I want to have these skeletons more as the focus. So let's make the outside a little bit smaller so it fits in, like that. Now we have to make the camera, go on the camera, go pull it up. There you go. Okay, 21 minutes left, not too bad. We can then go in here, make 2 more cuts. Now we can say, select this cut, go deeper, select this cut, go further to the front. There you go. Okay, then what we can do is select these 3 points, say rotate using the sharp setting, rotate on the y-axis, make the effective range higher, even higher maybe, or like that. Actually no, let's do something else. First of all, we will keep it like that on the outside. What we'll do is we're gonna do the same on the inside. So let's remove this middle part, right there, and we will add some more edges right here. Maybe 10 should be good. We then select every second of those. Okay. We scale them down on the X and Z axis, so scale except Y, like that, and we pull the other ones up. Scale, And there you go. Okay. Now we have our shape. What we can do with this, you can't really see it right now, but what we can do is, of course, what we did before. Select this, then rotate it using the sharp setting with proportional editing. There you go. Maybe by 90 or 120 degrees. Okay. Looks pretty good. Then at the end, we can just do the same we did before. Go in here, extrude and scale. Then Shift X to merge them into one. Select this and pull it to the front. Okay. Now, of course, we have the outside still. And also what I want to do is duplicate this. Go in here, say wireframe, and you can see what it does. It just adds a wireframe where the edges and corners basically were. Just adds a little bit more detail. Let's go back to the original triangle. Let's go back to solid view, that's easy to see then. And we can work on this some more. What we could do is just, let's see, what if we just select all these three things, duplicate them, and pull them over here. Oh, I missed one of those. Okay, ribcage, empty, cylinder, and cylinder. There you go. Duplicate it, move it on the X and Z axis, rotate it by 120 degrees. Oh, no, that's too much. Rotate it on the Y axis by 120 degrees. Okay, well.
I don't have a lot of patience for people who
wait a second. I have an idea.
You know, just like that's how it came out.
Rotate it. Let's see, fit it. What is it? 60 degrees, I guess.
But, you know, just
there you go.
From a place of understanding rather than from
move it higher so it fits right in there.
Where you're just grateful for
like that. Just fitting it in there. Okay. Like that. Okay. Looks pretty good. Now we can say.
Yeah, it's not about the ideas, it's about how you support the ideas.
70 minutes left. Still kind of have multiple ideas about I'm considering. Maybe, let's see. Okay, what if we go in here and say, that doesn't work, I think. Let's see. So what if we go in here, select these. Where am I? Nope, this one. Select these edges, say cursor to selected, make a new empty. Select this set parent, the geometry. We then select everything that's in here. Oh, like okay, we select the whale, the empty, the surface, and the wireframe. Set this, use this empty for our parent. We can then say make another parent. Parent array. I don't think that's gonna work, but we'll see. Now we can say use the parent, say okay, you can't, okay, well, it doesn't work. But what we can do with this is okay, let's see if that works. Let's move this to the side. We can use it later if we use it. Now we can go in here, say remove the parent from all of those. Clear parent right there. Remove this. But what we can do is say go in here. We could maybe make this inside a little bit smaller using a smooth or maybe even linear fall off. Okay, that doesn't work because we have to do something else. We have to go in here, apply the array first, do the same. There are no arrays, of course, the wireframe. Then we can say select all three of those, the surface, the wireframe, and the skeleton. It's J. Control J. Yep. Now it's joined into a single mesh, basically. What we can do now is select the outer ring, scale it down a little bit more, linearly, like that. Okay. And what we can do now, we have 50 minutes roughly left. We can then say, make a new, oh, there's one. The parent, let's call that something else. Array empty. We then go in here and we say another array, not this one, array. We then say relative offset off, object offset on, select the array thingy. We can then say object set origin to 3D cursor. And now if we rotate this, we can rotate it right there. So we will rotate this until these edges meet right there. And we do the same a few more times. So array right there. Okay. We have to adjust them a little bit. So what I'll do is change the array empty. Just rotate it a little bit more. So there's a little space in between. Doesn't matter too much, just because we can go in here now. Okay, this may be trickier, but we'll do. Set this to 3D cursor, duplicate this, rotate it on the Z-axis. Okay. 60. Nope. Let's rotate this on the y-axis first by 180 degrees, like that. Then we rotate it on the x-axis, so it's at the same height than the first one. Like that. Okay. And now we rotate it on the z-axis, so it fits into the corners. It doesn't fit really well, but well, that'll do, hopefully. Okay, let's see. We could just set this. We can just scale it a little bit. What we can do is select 2 points, or like this. Actually, we can't. Oh, well, let's keep it like that. We don't have too much time. Let's remove this. We don't need it. And we go in here. We use our... We don't need this empty anymore. We can make a new empty. Plain axis. Let's remove it. Put the cursor to the world origin. Make a new empty. We also need to put this higher. So, oh, of course I have to select everything. Move it higher. So it's above the world midpoint. And now I can add a plane. Oh, hello. Not in here. A new plane. Like that. There you go. Make it a little bit bigger. Like that. And then what we can do is just go in here. Scale it up. We only need 2. Up there. Like that. We then bevel these 2 edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 even. Like that. Smooth it out. There you go. Maybe we could scale it down a little bit, maybe even higher, like that. We can then go in here, maybe push this further back. That's the background. Then we can go use the camera. We set the camera to 80 or 85. We go closer. Oh. Let's put this like close to the ground. Like that. 10 minutes left. Pretty good, pretty good. Use the focus empty. Of course, good old trick. Use the camera. Go to constraints. Set the damp track. use the focus empty, and there you go. Set this to -Z, and nice. Now it focuses on the empty, so we can place it somewhere wherever we want. We'll just keep it like that. We maybe push this further back. We push it back a little bit more. Okay, maybe this one even a little bit more as well, like that. Okay, we can go to rendered view, put this to solid, save it first because I don't want to lose my progress now. Make a new folder. What day is it? I think 15. Right there, go in there, save the file. Okay, save it, and we can go to shading. First of all, I'm gonna go in here, set the world settings. What we can do is just see, we don't need them. Next up, at least for now, maybe we'll add them later again. What we'll do is go in here, add a, oh, okay, go in here, nope, not this one. Is it this one? Let's just add a new light in there, that's easier. What we can do is go in here, set this material. Okay, actually I need to add, oh, let me select the whale first. Oh, then select more of the whale, all of it. Okay, it's separated. Eight minutes left. Could be pretty close. Let's see. That was a mistake to like combine all those objects into one. Just now I have to separate them into one. Like I have to separate the materials on like in here. I'm making my 30-minute quick sketch right now, and then I'm gonna switch over to the real content of today. Of course, I hope your day has been great so far. Let's see. Let's just make something different then. No, this one's just a just an image. I usually do one every day. I give myself like an hour or 30 minutes. On stream I give myself 30 minutes to make something. And then it has to be done. It may be even a good idea to try out making a VJ loop. I'm kind of interested in that because I've never done it before, but it looks cool and I kind of want to try it. So thanks for the idea. I'll probably consider that, maybe do that at some point. Yep. Let's set up this settings first. We'll put in lights in here first. Did you be like, are you a full beginner or have you learned Blender like or any 3D before? I guess well, oh, let me go back. 6 minutes left. Well, the way I learned was just through tutorials and making projects. So I guess the easiest way for you, I mean, learn the program first, how you interact with it, how you navigate it, and what the tools are, and then just do projects or follow tutorials until you have like good understanding to fully do your own projects, and then just do those. At least that's what I did. And then if you want to go more into detail, you can of course do that. For example, going more into character, like how you create real-time hair, or how you can, I don't know, for example, how you create realistic characters and all that. So first, just making your own project, and then if you want to go deeper and need some more specific knowledge, then you can go deeper into that. Okay, that looks good. 5 minutes left. Maybe I can add a small light and spotlight. Put this higher. And actually I have to put it in the middle of the object like that. Yeah, I don't know how many 3D, I mean Cinema 4D tutorials there are, because I've only watched Blender tutorials yet, but I think the most concepts can be applied to both, so it shouldn't be that big of a problem to find some. Of course, if it comes to specific knowledge about the program, then you have to look into Cinema 4D tutorials. Okay, make this way higher, maybe times 10. Even more, I guess. Actually, oh, this might be too... Okay, let's just try it. Plane, pull this higher, make it bigger. Okay, we can then say emitter, shader emission. Put this in there. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. We can then say subdivide 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Then duplicate this. Put this to wireframe. Like that. Make the wireframe smaller. Thickness point whatever. Like that maybe. Then change this to a black. Oh, nope, that wasn't the right thing to do. We select this, remove the node, setup, 2 minutes 55. Okay, put this to a more maybe bluish, nice baby blue. Change the strength to maybe 0.25. And then we go in here. Bone. No, we don't need bone, so we can remove that. Make a new principal BSDF. And put that in there. Base color can stay. Metallic full. Specularity full. Roughness down. Ooh. Maybe a little bit of roughness. Also inisotrophic. Okay. 2 minutes. I think I'm gonna need some more lights in there. What I can do is go in here, maybe change the use node, for example. We can then, where's the node? Right there. Actually, I don't think you can link the same node setup, so it doesn't matter. We can then go in here, select the lights, put this more to a pinkish. Copy the color. 1 minute 42. Oh no, I copied the wrong color. Copy, put that in there. Okay, do the same in actually let's do something else. Let's copy this and make this purple. Or actually green, so we have different colors. Make them stronger, maybe 2000. Maybe even 4000. Okay. Do the same in here. Times 4. There you go. Okay. Now another color in here, maybe yellow. Okay, 1 minute left. Times 4. There you go. And yeah, I mean, we could maybe increase the strength of this panel. Go in here into the settings. Yeah. One more thing I'm gonna add is depth of field. Really quick. Depth of field right there. Focus object. Focus right there. I'll also put this maybe to 1.5. 20 seconds. Anything else? Oh no, I wanted to add some more, but okay, let's do it. New. Remove this. Shader, principal, volume. Put that in there. Put it to 1 and 0.01. Of course, it needs to be volume. Okay. This one's that one was stressful, but I think it doesn't look too bad. I mean, of course you can still improve it, but well, I was kind of lost in the beginning. Let's save that real quick, and then we can do the first render to go into the compositor. Leave that at 32 and set the resolution to 50%. Save it one more time. And there you go. I've set up my settings, like my preset Blender settings. So my file format for the output is always OpenEXR in the beginning. I can then just save it as in PNG. So let's do our first render. Shouldn't take too long. Let me switch to the image editor in here. Go to render result. There you go. We can then go in here, switch this to the compositor, and we're ready to go. Once this is done. Nope, it's already done. Okay. So now let's go to filter, denoise, put this in there. We have our denoising in there. Okay. Then we can use denoising normal and denoising albedo to make it easier. I mean, the denoising better in terms of quality. And now we can work with this. First of all, of course, we use the glare filter. I don't think we need streaks. We would prefer I think fog glow will be looks way better. Okay. We can then maybe even put down the threshold. Let's see. Yeah, 0.1 looks good. Okay. We can then go over here and we can use a contrast maybe. Just adds a little bit more contrast, of course, as the name implies. Also, what else? Maybe to be honest, I kind of like doing the color settings in Photoshop just because it's easier. It doesn't take this long to process, so you can make changes easier. But I think what we could do is maybe a saturation node, put that to 1.1. Okay, that should be good. I think that's basically all we would add. We could maybe think about adding a, what is it? The distortion, lens distortion. Let's see what that looks like. If we put that to fit, and then dispersion. Actually, let's put the distortion to -0.2. Okay, no. Maybe the 0.2. Okay, that looks awful. 0.1 maybe. No, nope, doesn't look good. So we leave that alone. Maybe we can use the dispersion. What if we put that to -0.2? I've only ever used it positively, like with positive values. Oh, nothing happens. Okay, well then put it to 0.2, I guess. I don't think this image necessarily needs dispersion, but I think 0.1 doesn't hurt. So I think that's all of it. So we can render that out, and then of course I'll do the last few steps in, like the last few adjustments in Photoshop. Put that to 100%, and when that's rendering, I can tell you about today's schedule, or today's content basically. Okay, save that one more time. Let me close my timer, Don't need that anymore. We don't need this as well. Okay. Yep. Let's render this out and then I can tell you what's going on. So, first of all, of course, quick sketch done. That's the first thing of the day. Then, next up, what I'm going to show you today is, or I'm going to make a small tutorial showing you what you can, or how you can add more realism and more atmosphere to your Blender renders using the principled volume node and also particles. What I basically will show you is what I recently use in a lot of my scenes, is how you can first just add like fog or like air particles in your scene using, or dust for example, using the principled volume node, and then also adding bigger particles. For example, like if you're underwater, if you've seen like underwater recordings, sometimes you see these things flying like plankton and all that stuff. Those are like bigger particles that you can add using using particle systems or particle simulations. And that's what I'm going to show you today, how you do that, even in still images. And next up, we're going to keep working on the good old Lady Dimitrescu, the current big project. We left off sculpting her face still. Next up would be just finishing her main shapes and then going more into detail. I've revisited it today before, just looking at it and seeing if I see some changes I want to make. A few changes I want to make is first changing the head shape and then maybe even adjusting the eyes a little bit, just the size. And that's, I think, all I would change for now. This render is almost done, and then we can go over to the main content. It's crazy how much just adding this, let me show you what I mean, the shader editor, and then where's the cube? Right there. The principled volume can make such a big difference in your renders, and I'll show you what kind of a difference it can make. I basically always use it because it's so useful. It adds more time to your renders because it takes a little bit of processing to calculate, but I think it's worth it, especially if you're using a denoising node or just a denoiser in general. Okay, nice. Let's save that real quick, and then save that as a PNG. I can even show you what I do in Photoshop, because my new habit is to finish up the whole image and then uploading it right away, just so I make sure I'll post it at the same day I make it, because it's a daily post or a daily quick sketch. I don't want to miss a day. I already missed the day uploading it. Like, I've done it in the day it was supposed to be done, but I just forgot to upload it. Then I uploaded it like 5 minutes after it was midnight. So that was kind of annoying. Quick sketch day 15. Okay. Let's close this, save this one more time, and then make a new... Actually, we don't have to make a new, we can just open the... Actually, no, we need a new scene for the tutorial. And then we can go in here, into the folder. You can see what I'm doing right now. I'll just navigate to where I need to go, open Photoshop as well. Let me just quickly pull up my quick sketch. And then we can do some more post-processing. Shouldn't take too long, just a little bit of tweaking. And then we can go in there and upload it and go over to the next section. I don't know why, but Photoshop takes so long to open my images. Maybe because they're just so big, but even then, even opening a Photoshop document takes a while. I mean, I've compared the PNG that I put into Photoshop to the JPEG I pull out of it, and it's like significantly bigger. Like right now, this PNG is 13,318 kilobyte big. If I save it as a JPEG, it's like 300. So it's a significant change or decrease in size, but still. Maybe it's the file size, but sometimes I even make new files and it takes so long. So I don't know what's going on. Let me switch to my screen cap so you can see my screen, and there you go. You should see my Photoshop. And let's do some easy adjustments. First, the lighting, just adding a little bit more to the scene, also gamma to give some more contrast, like that. Okay, then we can go in here and use the dynamic. Maybe we don't need more dynamic. Dynamic is similar to saturation, where it just adds some more saturation in there. I think it actually looks pretty good in here, so we'll keep it at 72 or maybe 100. And there you have saturation, so you have dynamic and saturation. We can leave saturation at 0. Okay, and then of course the biggest changer or game changer in here is the color lookup setting. We can then go through different lookup tables that change the color of the image by applying filters. Let's just go through a few. This one looks pretty cool. This one also looks kind of interesting, but pretty desaturated. Some of them give a really cool look to the image. This one actually also looks kind of interesting. Maybe a little bit too saturated. We'll keep it in mind for now. Okay. Aura blue. No. This one also looks kind of interesting, but kind of want to keep the original colors. So we had two that were pretty good. We had the, which one was it? I think it was this one, the crisp winter, or the weird UG Eterna, one of those. I think it was, or was it Kodak? Nope, it was what about Fuji? I think it was this one. Let's see, without it and with it. What if we use the other one above that, Foggy Night? Okay, well that looks interesting. Weird. We can also change the mix mode. That just applies the color in a different way, or the layer. That could look good as well in some cases. But I think this one is kind of... Oh. Well, it doesn't really... No, that just takes away the color. Okay. Nope, let's switch back to the Fuji whatever. Is it this one? Let's go through again just to see which one we had. We're at Kodak again. Let's see, which one was it? I had it before. I can't remember now. They all look the same. I think this one. And then let's change the... Of course I switched back. I need to switch back to the mix mode. It was on before on normal. Let's go through here again. I think the one I used is this one. Eterna, whatever. Let's look through a few mix modes just to see if there's any improvements. Okay. This just adds a little bit more. That's what does it look like this? Okay, I think I'll keep it like this. So there are two more things we could add. The first one, if we switch this to a smart object, we can apply a filter which is a render filter. 2 render filters we can try. First of all, is a, what do you call, lens flares, of course. A lens flare. We could switch between multiple and see which one fits best. This one's kind of weird. There was one that I think included a rainbow. Let's put this to... Okay, well, no, let's not do that. I think maybe I'm misremembering. I'll just use this one, like that. Change the intensity, make it like that maybe, okay. Put this on there. This one's maybe a little bit too strong, so we can go in here again. Change the brightness, maybe to more like 60 or 50. This looks better. Then, next up, what we can do is we can add a new layer. Just apply any color. Then we say render filter and use the difference clouds. And then we can go through the mix modes and see if there's anything that looks good. This one's kind of interesting. It just adds a little bit more stuff to the scene, more dynamic, or more just, I don't know what you would call that. Just makes the image a little bit more interesting. Just adds more detail, I guess. If we use, which one was it? This one. We could maybe change this down to a little bit less. Maybe like 50%. Then we can compare with it, without it. Maybe if we switch that to 25%, it might look okay. Just adds a little bit more roughness, or more, I don't know what you would call it. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, let's save that. Of course, first as a PSD, if you want to change this later, and also if when I make my thumbnail out of this, we change this, save it in there. We can then just apply the same settings in here to the 1920 by 1080 file or image render, and then we export it, web export using JPEG 60, quality 60. Put this into the sketch day 15, and there you go. I can also show you what I mean with the file size. There you go. The PNG had 13,318 kilobyte. The PSD even had 78,000, and the JPEG has 307. So it's a significant decrease in size. And yeah, that's why I do it. Let me switch back to Blender. Let me real quick put the new sketch onto my phone, and then we can go and I'll show you what I do to add some atmosphere to my scene. Just make it more interesting and more realistic. First of all, of course, let me grab my JPEG, pull that into in here, into my phone, right there. DCIM, of course. Copy that in there, okay. Okay. Let me quickly post that on Instagram, and then also on Twitter, and what else? Of course, Facebook. Some people still are on Facebook. And yeah, I'll do that real quick, and then we can go over and I'll explain what I told you before. So let's post that. Okay. What do you want to call this? Of course, first, quick. Oh. Nope, wait. Daily quick sketch day 15. Name called quick sketch day 15 light show, I guess. I guess Light circus. Kind of looks like a circus. Okay. Light circus. There you go. Put in some hashtags, of course. 3D, render. There you go. Okay. Okay, post it onto Twitter. Come on, finish it. Okay, let's switch to Twitter or Facebook first. I tapped that on first. Of course, until that's done, I need some like a scene, some like dude dancing or something, just to pass the time until I'm done here. Maybe that's it, the next project after the vampire lady. I also planned on making maybe a be right back scene and also a small intro. Maybe an intro might be a little too early. I think I'm gonna wait with that until later. So let's see. Of course, daily quick sketch day 15. Light. It was light circus. Also, just add hashtags right there. Okay. And one more is Twitter. Almost done, almost done. Doesn't take too long. And daily quick sketch day 15 called Light Circus. Okay, there you go. Easy. Quick sketch done for the day. Okay, dokie. Let me drink something real quick and then we can go over and I'll tell you what I wanted to show you today. Okay, so let me set up my scene first and then I'll show you what I mean. So let me make an example first. Actually, I can just use one of the examples I had before. So let me pull up some references where I used the same technique. I use it in a few now. So let's go to the image window. Let me pull up my images I use that on. For example, this one. This one has first of all volumetric lighting or volumetrics and also particles. Then which one was it? Oh, I think I used it in another quick sketch as well. Let's see. This one. Let's put this one in there as well. Oh, why is it so grainy? Wait, is it really so grainy? Okay, that's way grainier than it was in the preview. Okay, weird. What else? Let's see. On the newest one, we haven't used that, but I had it in a in this one as well. There you go. Maybe let's remove this one. This one looked kind of weird. I don't like this one at all. That was the first quick sketch I really didn't like. That was just like, I had an idea, but I couldn't really execute it, and I didn't want to spend too much time on it. Maybe the wider version. Okay. Put this in there as well. In here you can see some particles flying in the air, being shined on by the light coming from the right. And then of course the most prominent project I used it on is my character number 2. I'll use, which one should I use? This one or this one? Let's use this one. Actually, let's see if there are any changes. You could see some more particles in there, so I'll use this one. Okay. So, as you can see, what I mean is, first of all, of course, you have some... So what I wanted to do is, of course, as you can see right there, I put in a texture to block some of the light, which basically served the purpose of imitating the lights from the moon coming through the leaves. And you can see basically the shadows of the leaves being like projected or like just on the character to add more realism to the scene. So she's actually sitting in a scene, not just like being lit on by studio light. Then in this one, as I said before, you can see the volumetrics not only create this light beam, so this part is also lighter than only the light, like the surface where the light hits. The light hits only in this area, but because we have this volumetric lighting, you can see that this part is also brighter than down here, for example. This is also why you use this volumetric lighting, to basically get the effect of a beam of light, not only a light hitting an object, and you can see where the object gets hit by the light, but also a beam coming from the light to the surface that it's hitting. And then, of course, in here you can see particles in the air and the dust in the air as well. Just adds this really dusty feeling. You can see I tried to create some sandy ground. Of course, this is like a jackal statue. That's why I came to this idea of this like pharaoh, like Egyptian style image. And then this one is, I think, one of my favorite images yet of the quick sketch series. This chasm that goes down there with these weird things in the air flying there, and you can see some smoke. So what I did in here is not only added some volumetrics, but I also added the particles. Of course, these things that fly in the air are all just particles that I applied an object to. And what I also did to make it look like these clouds, I just applied a cloud, what was it? Difference cloud render filter onto this image, so it adds this nice cloudy feeling to it. So this isn't really the final render. This is after I've doctored with it in Photoshop. What the original render looked like, I can show you in a second. It was like this. That was the original render. Then I changed some settings in Photoshop, made it a little bit brighter, put in a, what do you call it? A color lookup filter, and added these clouds in there as well. You could probably simulate these clouds in Blender as well, but I think it's way easier to just add them later, and they look really cool, I think. Without them, this image still looks kind of weird and bland. Just adding these clouds can really make a big change. Let me remove this image. And we then have also... Oh, be gone. Why is it still there? I can just remove it from my scene entirely. Let me do that real quick. Blender file, images. Which one is it? Resketch 12, 1920. There it is. Delete. Now it shouldn't be there anymore. Nice. And go back to my view layer. And the last one, of course, where I really utilized the effect of light beams is in here. I just made a sphere with a lot of holes in there, and then added a really highly emittive material or object in the middle that shines all the light through the holes. And to really visualize the holes, or the light coming through the holes, I added like volumetric lighting or volumetrics to the scene to show these beams, basically. I then added some particles as well, which just is a little bit more stuff in the scene. Otherwise it looked kind of empty. Adding these small balls added a little bit more to the scene. So I think that's all I need. Let me set up a quick scene first, and then I think what I'm gonna talk about in this scene or setting is how I made. Actually, first of all, what I could do is open the character 2. Let's see, character 2. There it is. Don't save. So I can show you a practical example of what I mean. Let me grab what I need. All of that. The image, all of this stuff. Here, particles, and also cube. Nope, we don't need that. Light focus, don't need that. The mist, of course, and water mist. There you go. If we then switch to the rendered view, we could maybe switch this camera to a more 19... Oh god, no. 64. Okay. So now what we can do is go in here, 1080, and pull this further back. Easy peasy. Also, actually, let's just keep it like 1920 by 1920. I can just pull up the image in here. Okay. Let me pull up my examples in here as well, because I'm going to start with this scene, and then I'm going to go over and replicate what I basically do. Explain what actually the process is of creating this atmosphere. This one, and what else? The pyramid. This one, the jackal. Also the... Where is it? Where is it? Quick sketch. Come on, tell me which one it is. This one. Hello. And one more, of course, the character render. This one. Okay. So, I think that's all. We maybe, let's see the rendered view. This, I think, takes a while to finish. we don't even need this view because we have this right here. So we don't necessarily need this. We can go back to solid view. What we were missing are the particles. You can see them now. Actually, let's remove them for now and then we can add them later. So let me just sort my layers real quick and then we'll start. Let's add a new collection, call this Atmo. Put this this one in there, Atmo. Also the mist and the water mist. I think. Oh, hello. I'm not making a Pixar level movie. Right now I'm gonna explain how you can of course, hello first. Hello Mr. Visgis, or however you sorry if I mispronounced that. What I usually do is create characters or like scenes or something on stream. And then I basically usually make a tutorial every week and then work on my projects. And of course, if you have any questions, any stuff you want to show me, I am gladly gonna give you feedback if you want. What we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna make a quick explanation how I add more atmosphere to the scene. For example, how I made these air particles, how I added this mist on the water, and also how you can make some light rays actually appear in the scene, not only on the character but also in the air. That's basically what I'm gonna do right now. I'm just setting up my scene, so I'm ready. Those are the three settings we need: the mist in the air, then the air particles, these white dots basically, and the mist on the water. My day is pretty great. I mean, work was pretty boring, but otherwise it was pretty good. Hope your day was good. Hope you had a great day. Not as boring as mine was. I mean, it wasn't too boring, but at least I had something to do. But I finished it, so let's see if I have something to do tomorrow. Are you working with Blender as well? Or are you just maybe learn it or just interested in what I do? Okay, I think I'm almost done. Of course, if you have any questions, just ask them. Do I need this cube? Nope, that's stone. So let me put all of this into another collection. Oh, there it is. Delete this collection. Rest. That in there, and now everything is sorted. Easy. Okay. Can we mark this in a different color? Nope, we can. Okay. Save it. Okay. Oh, okay, well, I didn't really delete anything, so it's not too bad. Okay. We could make all of this stuff unclickable. So all I can click is the actual stuff. Do you mean camera movement, or do you mean in general animations, or yeah, like movement in general? I'm probably planning on how to make easy camera movements in Blender, or like animations and all that. I made a quick animation in Blender just recently for one of my videos. I can show it to you real quick. So if you have any questions and you see that I did those, like something you were struggling with, let's see, this one, let me just pull it up. Okay, So that's just really quick. It wasn't really a in-depth animation or something, just something I created real quick in a few hours. So what I basically just did is used I think three 3D scans and one just model I made myself, and then I created this easy cinematic intro basically for my video, where I just made a small camera pan, and yeah, that was the most complex scene. It wasn't like, it's not really crazy in terms of camera movement and all that, because it's pretty static, but yeah, I think that the first animation I exported. Yeah, I mean, English is my first language as well, so I feel what you mean. But I won't like judge you or anything. Of course, if English isn't your first language, it's always a struggle to learn. Sometimes it can be a bit weird. Yep. So that's the first animation I did. I planned to do another one before that, but I canceled it because I had too much like ambitions or too much stuff I wanted to add to this animation. But yeah. Of course, if there's something technical about your animation you may be wondering, maybe I can help you out. But yeah, of course, just you can always ask. Okay, let me start my explanation and then we can do this. We save that real quick and then we can go over and I can explain how this works. Okay, recording, easy peasy. There you go. Okay. Okay, so today I'm gonna show you how you can add atmosphere and how you can just in general make your images in Blender look more realistic. As you can see right here, this is one of the scenes I made on stream. I'm just gonna show you an example first, what I mean with adding more realism and atmosphere to your scene, and then I'm gonna show you how I make those. Shouldn't take too long, maybe if you're really used to it and making this, it shouldn't take too long, maybe a few minutes. And yeah, I'm gonna show you first what I mean, and then I'm gonna explain to you. I'm gonna give some more examples to this one, and then I'm gonna show you just how I make them. It's really simple, really easy. I think everybody can follow this. Of course, if you have any questions, you can always ask me. So first of all, you can see this scene. This is the second character I made on stream. You can see a character and it's supposed to be in a forest. You can see her in the water, and let me hide the water real quick. You can see her like swimming in the water, and the camera just is slightly above the water. And what I wanted to add more realism to the scene, of course, the character can look as realistic as it wants, especially the background as well. If your lighting and your atmosphere basically isn't really realistic, then the whole image can fall apart. So let me just bring back my water real quick and then we can go over. Oh, there it is. We can go over how I made this, or what I added to the scene to make it more realistic. As you can see, the comparison right here, this is the render without the added atmosphere that I add to basically all my scenes now. As you can see, this is what it looks like, of course without post-processing and all that, but this is the raw scene. I'm gonna show you how it changes once we add the added objects. So as you can see, the comparison between these two, of course, don't really mind the color. The colors I'm gonna change in post-processing. What I want to talk about is, first of all, the mist, not only over here around the character. This one's pretty dark. In here you can see the light is coming from the top and like this is the light source. So the light is coming from the front right, as you can see with these light shining onto the character. So this part is brighter than, for example, over here. And also you can see the particles in the air that I wanted to simulate some pollen or some spores in the air just flying around. Like this is supposed to be a jungle scene or something, a mystical scene, and just adding some glittery spores in the air I think looked pretty cool. And then also what I added was a third layer, which was this mist on the water. For example, if you have like a lake, sometimes when it's cold or just the moonlight is hitting the lake, you can see some mist on the lake. Just adds a little bit more mysteriousness to the scene. So that's what I added as well. So the 3 objects I mentioned before as well are, of course, first the mist in the air, which is just a cube right here. Then also you have the water mist, also a cube. And the third object are the air particles. There you go. Now you can see them flying around. And when we wait until this is finished rendering or calculating, it's not rendering, it's just calculating. Yeah, so the easiest way would probably be to first of all learn how to use Blender, basically how the interface works, and also how you use the main tools like moving, rotating, scaling, and how you move in the scene. And then basically what I did is, welcome Zenar, thank you for following. What I basically did was, the first project I did was a small interior with just, the first thing I did was like a board on the wall. So I made a block basically, or a cube that I attached to a wall, and then I gave those just some random textures and just small projects. After you've learned how to use the main tools, really adds to your repertoire of skills, and just doing more and more projects. I think there it is. I think it froze for a second. Just doing more and more projects really helps you get the repetition in and learning the program. Yeah, as I said before, Ziana, thanks for following. I hope your day has been great. I hope you enjoyed the stream. If you have any questions, you can always ask me. If you want some feedback on your projects, of course, I'm always glad to look at that. What I'm doing right now is make a small tutorial on how you can improve your render in Blender, adding basically 2 objects to your scene. And as you can see right there, now if you look at this now, you can see I've added the few particles, and also there's some mist in the scene. As you can see, it added some more noise, which is just the side effect of adding this atmosphere to the scene. You can see these 3 new objects I mentioned before, 2 cubes and actually just 2 cubes. All you need are cubes for this trick basically to work. Maybe not a trick, but they're just adding the atmosphere. I mean, it's a trick if you want. And I'm going to show you some more examples in a second. This one is just the first and I think most significant project I used this trick on. As you can see right there, that's how I added the particles in the air, which are, as you can see right there, just floating particles, and also just these cubes with a principled volume node that I added to the shader of the cube. That's all that is applied to it. I'm going to show you how you set it up in just a second. I'm going to show you some more examples so you can see what you can actually do with this powerful combo basically, and how you can add these air particles in the scene or in this cube. It's just through a simple, not this one, it's air particles. It's a simple particle simulation. I'm going to show you how you can set it up in just a few minutes, and then you can very easily improve your renders really quick. So, first of all, I'm going to show you some more examples. So we go to image editor. This one's of course the render of this one with some more post-processing applied to it. So we made it a little bit brighter and just more saturated. And this is the final result of this render. Then I had some quick sketches I do. I basically do a daily quick sketch where I add these effects basically always, because they just add so much more to the scene. For example, for this one, as you can see right here, I just had this wall I made and added this light shining onto the wall to make it a little bit more interesting, to add more dynamic to the scene. And as you can see right there, you can see some particles flying in the air, just some dust particles or something, some longer shapes. And also if you compare this wall back there where there's no light shining onto it, like it stops right there, and then after this one you can see the wall is dark again. But if you compare this wall, this part of the wall, to this part, for example, this one's way darker than up here, just because you can add light cones to your scene using the principal volume node that I showed you before. I'm going to show you how you set it up in just a second. Let me show you some more this effect, because if you see, you have some, like it's like a little bit darker back there than it is here, and you can see just some it creates more depth adding this volume to the scene, because it basically just acts like if you see trees or like a landscape and you can see far into the landscape, you can sometimes see, for example, mountains in the front are more saturated or dark than they are if you go further away, and you can see mountains way in the distance. They're sometimes, for example, blue. That's basically what we add to the scene with this effect. So a few more examples. I think this is one of my favorites. Just adding, so if you have to guess what really I added to the scene, first of all, I added of course the particles, the air particles to the scene. If you think, okay, what are the particles? Nope, I haven't placed all these objects in the scene by myself. I just used the particle setting and just applied a object to the particles so they render as this object, and that just made it very easy to place all these objects in this chasm basically. And I also added the principal volume node again to the same cube I put into this chasm basically, to add these clouds and depth to the scene, so the further you look into this chasm, the darker it gets basically. These clouds I made in here, you can create them also using principal volume nodes, but I made those in post-processing in Photoshop just because it was easier, and I made it after I rendered the final image, so I didn't want to do the same effect in Blender again. Let me show you one more image that shows you more of the light rays you can create using this technique. You can see it right here. I just made a sphere with holes in it, and I just put in a light in the middle that shines out of these holes, and you can see the volume outside creates these beams of light basically coming out of the holes. That's basically what I used this for. And then I just added some more particles to the scene. Pretty simple. The scene isn't that crazy. I don't even like it that much, but it was one of my daily quick sketches, and I think that just shows you what you can create with the principal volume node. Well, I mean, I can show you some of my earliest renders. The first ones I did was basically just either vases or like what was it? Pillars, for example. Like just I can make one real quick. For example, the first few I did just to learn the program. I remember one of them was a cup, where you can just go in here and make the cup using the inset tool and then pulling this down so you have the cup shape. Then you can add a handle as well. Oh, there's one too much. So you can go in here. Also, if you want to learn more about Blender and okay, now you can just add this in there like this, and then you can make a handle out of this. That's one of the few first things I learned, like through a tutorial. I just followed that. And then of course I created some pillars, as I said before. For example, putting this to the side, and then, for example, making this thinner, and then adding a few cuts. For example, like this. Like that, and then just adding some shapes in there, maybe some side pieces. Just learning the tools, and once I finished that, my first real project was a kitchen. Actually, it was the interior I said before. I could maybe pull it up if I can find it still. Also, if you want to learn Blender or you want to like finish a real project, I made a tutorial on my channel, on my video channel, Nogi, just Nogi. You can probably find it. That it's also in the description on YouTube. I made, like, I will upload the second beginner tutorial, I think this week, where in the first one I explain the whole, like, how Blender works, and you create your own small scene in Blender. You basically make a house on a small island with a tree and some windows and a door, of course. And that's what you create in this roughly 1 hour tutorial. Just learning the program and actually making a real project while learning Blender. And the second one I'm gonna upload sometime this week is gonna be about a small scene with a rocket ship and a planet. Basically, the rocket ship is flying around the planet. And if you're interested in that, learning Blender while actually finishing or doing a project, then you can look into that if you want. That's basically how I want to approach my content, basically interactively, not only like maybe advertising for people to learn Blender or like beginners to start looking at it or being interested in it, and also making it fun and engaging to learn. Okay, so let me remove that and let me open a new scene so we can start the process of making one of those. Make a general new. Don't save. Okay, so this is of course my preset standard scene. I set some different settings. Usually in your scene you should have a cube. We don't need a sphere in this example, so we can remove this sphere. And what we need for the effect basically to work is a scene. So we can, for example, just make a quick scene. For example, we could make a plane, make this really like bigger. We can then pull up the second window. This is the camera view. Pull this up a little bit. Also put this on the plane. Like that. That should be pretty good. And then we can just make this longer. Just going in here, selecting this and pulling this further back like that. Okay, now you have your scene. We need one more object to visualize what we actually add. A cube, for example. Cube works really well because we can make a tunnel out of it by, for example, first deleting these two faces and then going in here, pulling this over there. Okay, now you have your tunnel. This should visualize really well what we're gonna add to the scene. So I mean, as long as you're having fun with it, I think slow learning doesn't really have to be a problem. Of course, sometimes it can be frustrating, but I think as long as you're having fun with it, it's not really like a chore to do it. Of course, you should always it's best to learn when you're actually like having fun with it. Let me add some more thickness to this tunnel, just because it looks better in my opinion. Solidify like that. Okay, put this to the outside. Okay, so now we have our scene. Last thing we need is we're gonna change this cube so we actually see all the effects I said before. First of all, I'm gonna go in here and let me remove this thickness modifier for a second. We then add a few cuts in here, maybe like that. Okay, now we can, for example, delete this one or this one. Then we delete this one as well. Delete the faces. Okay, now we have these windows basically in there. And what we will add is we switch this to rendered view so we can see how the lighting looks right now. Okay, looks pretty good. We then switch the... Actually, no, we don't need to switch the world lighting. We apply the solidify modifier again. And we add our sunlight. Let's pull it to the side. Give it a nice angle like that. Okay, this looks pretty good. So, thank you. Small. Okay, I don't know why it's bugging out so much. Small but cool streamer. I hope you stay cool. Maybe not small if you don't want that, but I hope you stay cool. Hope your day was great, and thanks for following. Hope you enjoy the rest of the stream. So to actually show you what the effect is doing, or the volume, we're gonna add the volume first, of course. If you want to compare it now, you can see that right now there's no light. Like, you can see the light hitting the ground. There's no light beam basically in the air. I'm gonna show you what I mean in a second. Let me now show you how you can actually set it up so it's actually looking like there are air particles or atmosphere in the scene. So we first of all create a new sphere. You can, if you want, use a different object. Doesn't really matter what object you need or you use. All that matters is that you use an object that you can see as a mesh in here. Oh, thanks, Mr. Viscous. Yeah, on Twitter I usually post stuff like my quick sketches. You can either follow there to see that, or Instagram, it's up to you, or both if you want. Doesn't, like, yeah, it's up to you. So now this cube will serve as our volume, basically the volume emitter or volume cage, if you want to call it that. Everywhere where you can see this mesh, you can see the volume. So to fill out the whole room with basically air particles or atmosphere, we have to make this cube bigger, because right now it's only in the front, as you can see right there. So to make it bigger, we select this face and just pull it to the end of this tunnel right there. Okay, now of course, as you can see, you see nothing. That is because we need to change the material. So of course, to change the material, we have to add a new material. And as you can see, we have these two nodes. To add volume to the scene, we don't need the principled BSDF. We switch that to a principled volume. And we just plug this principled volume with this volume plug into the volume socket. There you go. And as you can see, you can kind of see into the tunnel, but the density is way too high to actually see like far. So what we can do first is, what I usually do is change the color to white, pure white, and then I change the density, for example, to 0.1. That's basically good for a lot of scenes. And there you can see the first feature of adding atmosphere or this principled volume to your scene. You can see now that the sunlight is going into the scene, and you can see actually sun rays going through the air, basically hitting all the particles in the air, which adds just more realism to your scene. If you, for example, look at photo shootings of, for example, what you would call it, architectural photography, you can sometimes see like light going through a window and then hitting all these particles in the air. That is basically what this does. You can see it right here. This is now brighter. If we remove this cube, you can see no light in the air, basically. No particles getting hit. If you add it back in, you can see these particles. Yeah, I mean, if you're a beginner, this may be a little bit too hard, especially because we're going to work with these nodes. It's not too hard, so, but still, I think the first stuff you should focus on is getting used to the tools and also getting used to how you move in your scene and how you change the geometry of objects. And then later you can focus on stuff like improving your renders and post-production and all that. First of all, you should just have fun creating projects and all that. And then later, if you feel ready, you can do the rest. So now that we've added the first step, which is just these small particles in the scene, we can then, of course, change with the density settings if you want. For example, we can change the anisotropy, if you spell it like that or pronounce it like that, which just basically changes the behavior of this volume, how it gets affected by the light that's hitting it. If you, for example, put it to 0, it's like, I don't really completely understand it yet, but if you want to just keep it like so you want to keep it like how dust would behave, you can just leave it at 1. I mean 0. -1 is kind of weird because it acts kind of like a mirror, and 1 is basically non-existent. That's at least how I understand it right now. If you leave it at 0, that's basically the standard setting. That's pretty easy and pretty simple, and for the beginning pretty useful. So that's the simple setup for the atmosphere and the scene. And then if you want to add some more particles that are bigger than just these small volumes or like dust in the air, you can then use the same cube and add some more bigger particles, as I said before, by going in here to the particle properties and clicking on this plus right there to add a new particle simulation or particle setting to the scene, which basically, if you can't see it because in the 3D viewport the cube is displayed as a solid object. To actually see how the inside of the cube looks, and so we can see the particles inside of this cube, we have to go into the object properties, select the viewport display arrow, and then go into display as and switch that to wire. Now we can basically see inside of the cube, and as you can see one small particle right there. Of course, we need more particles, so we need to change the particle settings. If you want, you can rename this particle setting to air particles, for example, and now we can go in here and change these settings. First of all, the first setting I always use is, or change, is the number can stay like that for now. The first thing I change is the frame start and frame end setting. This is especially useful if you, for example, make a still image. This basically just spawns all the 1,000 particles on frame 1. If you have your standard scene, you always start on frame 1 in your timeline. This timeline basically, if you go further, you can see right now, if we let that play, for example, you can see all the particles spawning, and they will spawn with the current settings from frame 1, basically right there, to frame 200, which is right there. As you can see, it stopped. If we go back here, you can see 200 and it stops. That's basically what it's set up right now. I mean, doesn't matter if you don't write, you don't have to write too much. Of course, if you have any questions, you can always ask me, but you're always just welcome to watch if you want. Okay, now we have the basic setup. We have changed the settings some more. So as I said before, frame start is 1, and we want to spawn all these 1000 particles that spawn from frame 1 to 200 at frame 1, all the 1000. So what we have to do is, first of all, go back to frame 1. With this button you can easily do that. And then you can go in here and say frame start 1 and frame end, put that to 1. Now you can see all the particles, all the 1000 particles spawn on frame 1. So that's all that would spawn from frame 1 to frame 200. If you then want them to not only spawn from this on the surface, because they're right now just like taped to the wall, but they should also like fly in the air basically inside of this cube, you can go in here to source and switch the emit from faces to volume right there. And as you can see, now the particles spawn inside of this cube. And of course you can't see them right now in the rendered view. That's because we have to apply an object to these halos, I think they're called right now, these white balls. Those are just a viewport indication to where the particles are located. So to add your particle to the scene, you can just add a new object. Just add mesh. For example, what I used in the water scene was a UV sphere. You can just pull that to the side out of the scene as a prop that we're going to use for this particle setting. We switch back to the cube with the particle setting, and then we can go in here into the render settings. And as you can see right here, it's rendered right now as a halo. This is basically a halo, these balls. We can switch that to none, so now they're gone. Or you can say, for example, line. Okay, that looks kind of weird. Line doesn't really change anything, but what we're going to use is an object. Nothing happens right now because we have to select an instance object. We select this, what do you call this again? I don't even know. You select just this icon, so you can select your object that you want to have rendered as the particle in your scene. So I click on the sphere using this pin set, if you call it that, or pipette. Click that, and there you go. Now all your particles are small spheres basically. If you want to decrease your render time, because all these now have all these many faces and vertices, you can of course go in here and reduce the amount of vertices. Or what you can do is, for example, make a new sphere. You can then have this drop down menu at the bottom left of your viewport, and then you can change these segments down so it's not as crazy to render. Maybe to, I think I switched this to 12, and then 6 in here. Should be pretty low poly and easy to use. You can make it smaller if you want, however you want it. Now you can go in here again, select your cube, and you select instance object, this sphere, and there you go. Now the spheres have less geometry and they are easier to render. And as you can see, they're now in your scene. Now, of course, are they flying in the air now? Let's see. Let's switch back to frame 1 real quick. Sometimes just doing that resets the scene, but I think they're emitted from the faces, it looks like, at least. So if we go back here and switch that to faces and then volume, now they're in the air. Okay, of course, now it looks like it's huge bath of balls, or whatever you want to call it. Just huge particles in the air. To make them smaller, you can go in here into render, and you have your scale setting. Right now they're set at 0.05. You can make it smaller, maybe 0.005. That's a little bit too small. You can still see they're in the scene, but way too small. Maybe put that to 0.01. You can now see them a little bit in the scene, but what you can do to make it even more realistic, for example, not all particles in the air are the same size basically. What you can do is go to scale, make this a little bit bigger. You can basically now set the scale of the biggest particle, and then the second setting, the scale randomness down here, will change the scale of these objects basically randomly. I'm going to show you what it does in a second. We could basically, for example, do 0.025. So they're just a little bit bigger just to visualize what it looks like. And you can then use the scale randomness, increase that. And as you can see, some of these objects now get smaller. Now you have a spectrum from basically scale 0 to scale 0.025. Basically, the biggest ones are 0.025 and the smallest ones are 0. Okay, when I'm trying to create bones for a character, how much times I made bones for it? I have one simple question. Okay. So you mean when you created your bones and you then want to apply those bones to your character, how you do that? Is that your question, basically? So now we have the particles on the scene. What you can also do, if your particles, for example, are not just a sphere, that's the good part about this technique, is you can change the type of particle in the scene. You can, for example, use something else, for example, whatever, a cylinder, pull that to the side, and then you can also say just, okay, I don't want to have round particles in the air, I want to have cylinders in the air, and there you go, now you have cylinders. But of course, now it looks kind of weird because they're all just facing upwards. If you want to change that as well, so they're like actually like floating particles in the air that rotate in midair, what you can do is go to rotation, tick that box, and then what you can do is keep this velocity per hair that's not really changing anything. What you actually change is this randomize option. You just put that to 1, and now every particle has its own rotation. Everything is random, basically. Nothing in the real life is set. Everything is random. So we're just adding more randomness to the scene with the scale randomness, and also the rotation randomness just makes it look more realistic. So those are basically the two settings I use to add more atmosphere to the scene. And as you can see now, if we compare these two, so this is the first render. Let me just quickly render 3 examples, and then I can show you what these two features basically do. And once I am done rendering those, I'm going to show you what I mean. So yeah, so basically if you want to make like a character move and you add more like bones to the scene, I guess your question is how you add those bones or how you apply those bones to your character. That is basically done by selecting your character and then selecting your bone armature. Then you can say that you want to parent the character to the bones, and you can say parent them using, what was it, automatic weights that basically applies the character to the bones, and then you can move your bones and also move your character with the bones. I think that's what you were asking. I just recently learned how to rig a character, which is what you asked for with the bones. And yeah, now I'm a little bit more knowledgeable about it. That's definitely something I was interested in before. Okay, so let me just quickly render 3 examples, maybe put this to 50%. We can then say, how do you do that again? You can say UV, I'll just save it. So, okay. First of all, let me render the first image, just going in here and okay, so there are 3 renders. I think you can make 3 different renders and keep them all. So let's go to the compositor, remove this, and you can say output, file output. Is it this one? No, it's viewer. I can't remember how you do it. But I think that there were like layers in here, how you can apply different renders to different layers that then let you keep multiple renders in one project basically. I think I'm just gonna render all those and then I'm gonna show what I mean. So let's render this one first. Let's hit render. Shouldn't take too long. We can switch to the image view so you see what I see. Render result. There you go. That's the first one. Then I'm gonna do one. It's already done. I'm gonna do one without the particles. So let's remove the particles from the scene. Just unrender those. Oh, we have to save the image first. Image save as. Put them in a new scene. Make a new folder. Okay. Make a new images or render, and then I'll save those in there. Okay, save that. Make new render without the cubes in there. Shouldn't take too long, few seconds, like that. That is without the particles and the atmosphere. Let's save that as well. Atmo 2. And then we have one more without particles, but with the like that, with the volume basically. Render that again. And that's the second or third look. Okay. Let's save that as well. And then I'll explain what the changes are. Okay. Let me pull up the 3 images in here. Let's remove this. Okay. Pull up my project. Okay, yeah, sure. Hope you have a great night, and maybe I'll see you later. You can should be online tomorrow as well. If you have any questions or that, yeah, just hope you have a good rest of your day. See you then. Okay. Projects right there. Character. Nope, it's in my folders. Where is it? Adding atmosphere. There it is. Let me add all 3. This one, and this one. Okay. So the render is done. You can see in here, this is the first render. Just as you can see, the volume and also the particles in the air. You can see them flying in the air. Then the second one is atmosphere. No atmosphere. I mean, no volume and also no particles. That's how it looks. And then to compare, no particles, but a volume. That's how that looks. You can see it adds depth to the scene. Basically, by adding this volume, you first of all get the volume in the air getting hit by light, so you can get these light beams in the air. And also, the further you go into the tunnel, you can see this light back there, this window, isn't really visible anymore. So this is how you can create depth and just more realism to your scene. Because if you, for example, go into an old attic, you can see all these dust flying in the air. And then if you have a small window, I don't know if you see my hand, a small window like shining in, you can see all these particles flying in there. Maybe I can find a video or something that shows you what I mean. That's what you can see in here. You can see these particles flying in the air, and then if you want to add bigger particles, for example, I don't know, you have a flower and this flower emits spores. You can see them. The flowers, I don't know, like a magical flower with tubular spores. Now the spores are flying in the air, and those are the bigger spores. Or the bigger particles. Not only small particles that are gonna hit by lighting, you can also add bigger ones that also are gonna get hit by lighting. And those are the two techniques basically I use to add more atmosphere to my scene. I can pull up one of my scenes again to show you how I added those. For example, let me pull up the one with the chasm. I think that's the best one to show you what I mean, which was this one right there, just to compare. You can see the further we go into the scene, the darker the light gets. This light down there is way more dim than this one in the front. This is super glowy. This one's dimmer. That's because of the volumetric lighting. Also the volumetric lighting added was I put in a sunlight at the top. The chasm had like no roof, it was just open, and I put in a sunlight coming from the top, which basically gave me more depth because the top is more lit than the bottom, which basically shows you in here this part is way lighter or brighter than the bottom right there. Also, of course, as I said before, I use the technique with the particles right there, and applying those again. You can see the particles. I used the same technique with these flying things in there. The chasm was pretty big, and I didn't want to add 1,000 of these particles in the air. So what I just did was set all these settings in here with the particles all spawning and frame start 1, and they all spawn at frame 1. And I set the number to something more than 1,000, I think, and it just spawned all these objects in the scene. And if you want to make them emit light, you don't have to change the shader of this volumetric shader right there. Oh, come on, okay. So if you go in here into the cube again, you can see we've just applied the principal volume. But if you go back to the render, you can see these cubes aren't volumetrics as well. They are actually meshes or objects, and that's because the particles do not only take the mesh info from this base mesh that you basically apply to the particles, but it also takes the material that is applied to it. So for example, if you go in here into the cylinder, you make a new material, you can then say, oh, I want my particles to be blue, and there you go. Now your particles are all blue. What I did for my character in the water, I can show you real quick. Let me pull up my folder. Character 2. Okay, let me switch this to image. As you can see in here, I had these spores, as I said before, and for this one I kind of wanted them to glow. So what I just basically did was go in here into the shader. This is the shader. I switched this from a principal BSDF and just plugged in a emission. Put this in there, and there you go. Now all your particles are glowing. You can see they emit light onto the scene, and yeah, that's how I made these glowing small particles in here. And that's basically all of it. So just to recap, I can speedrun this real quick if you want. We can have our scene. We delete this real quick to make a new atmosphere to your scene. This one is quite boring. To make all of it in a few minutes, you can go in here, make a new cube, put this into the scene, fill out the whole tunnel, go in here, pull this all the way back here, There you go. It filled out the whole scene. Then you go into the shader, make a new shader, remove this. You then add a principal volume, put this into the volume socket. Make sure that you don't put it into the surface socket. Then it would just look black. You have to put the volume into the volume socket. You can see it gets darker. A value of 0.1 is usually good. You can maybe work with maybe even less if you want to see more of the background. For example, 0.05. You can now see all the way to the end. And you can see this beam of light in there as well. I'll keep mine at 0.1. And then select this, make it white. That's what I do usually. And then you have your first particles or your dust. What you then can do is add a particle setting. You can rename it if you want. But what you only have to change is basically the frame end. Put this to 1. You can change the number if you want. You switch the source from faces to volume. To see how the particles are distributed in your object, you have to switch in object properties in this orange box. Viewport display, from display as texture to bounce or wire. You can choose between both of those. Now you can see your particles. What you then do is go into the render, set the render as halo to object, of course. Render as object. Use either this icon right there, this pipette, or you click on here and you can select it from this list. So if you go in here and say, you can either select it from this list using, what was it, a cylinder, or you can just select this and select it in your 3D viewport. And there you go. You have all your objects. Of course, if you set this up in the beginning, you have no material added, so it looks like this. Then, to make it more realistic, because realism is all about randomness, you can go in here and change the rotation. Just randomize the rotation fully to 1. Now everything is rotated in a random fashion. And one more thing, you can adjust the scale, maybe make it a little bit smaller, maybe even bigger, like that. And then you can change the scale randomness full, and there you go. Now everything has a random scale as well. That's basically how you do easy atmosphere. Just to recap one more time, adding a cube, adding the principal volume node, and then adding a particle setting, applying an object to the particles, changing the rotation to a random factor and the scale to a random factor, and there you go. You have an easy better looking image. And there you go, you have a better looking image by just adding this atmosphere trick, basically. Yep, that's it. Hope you find that useful. Maybe you put that in your next scene. And yep, maybe if you found it helpful, maybe you have some more questions. Of course, you can always ask me. Put them in the comments, or if you're in my live chat while I do this live. Right now, this is live, so if you want to watch this live, I usually do a tutorial every Monday, and the other days, Monday through Thursday, I do other stuff. You can check it out. Always, you can ask questions if you're struggling with any of these settings, or if you have more questions, you can always ask me. And yeah, so if you have any more questions, put them in the description. If you watch this as a video, if you're live, you can always just ask me in the chat. And if you like this video, if you found it helpful, a like would be appreciated. If you didn't like how I presented it, or maybe you just don't like the tip I gave you, hit the dislike button, tell me why you didn't like the video, and maybe subscribe if you want to see more, and maybe I'll see you next time. So that's all from me. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you later. Of course, that was just the goodbye for the video. Let me just quickly cut this recording, and there you go. That's the tutorial for this week. Now we can go over to the main project I'm working on right now. I'll show you what I'm working on right now. Let me open the most recent character 3. Don't save this file. Actually, I'll save it. Just if I want to do something with it, I'll still have it. Adding atmosphere. There you go. I always struggled like typing atmosphere. I didn't know how it's like spelled. But I think now I got it. Like I always thought like Atmo, the first T always has an H after it, but I think it was like ATM instead of ATHM. First I always wrote ATHM, but now I know it's ATM. Let me pull up my new character. And this is what we're working with right now. Looks kind of weird right now, I see that. But what it's supposed to be is her. I'm working on basically a fan art of her. I want to probably go a little bit more in depth with this one. Actually using hair cards maybe. And also adding the clothing and all that. And giving her a random pose. I mean, not random, but custom pose. And right now I'm just trying to hit her likeness. Kinda hitting her likeness. Trying to like recreate her face. It probably looks kind of weird right now. I see that as well. That's what I'm still working on. I'm not the best at likeness sculpting yet. I'm still working on that. Right now I'm at the stage of the... Let me switch this. This is the last stage I left off. Of course, we can add some rough hair just to make it a little bit more look like a like a lady. But I had a few changes I wanted to make, and then I'm gonna go into it again and add some more detail. I don't think... Maybe it looks so weird just because she has no teeth. I wanted to add teeth later because she's actually gonna smile in the end. But what I saw was the few changes I want to make is make her eyes a little bit smaller. And also I think I'm gonna make her neck a little bit like thinner, like this width. And then I'm just gonna go into it and add some more detail. This is how she looks in rendered view. Kind of weird. It looks like a mannequin. The eyes look good, of course, because they were already made, but everything else still needs work. So let's do that. This is the long-term project. I usually have a short-term project I do on Tuesdays, and then a long-term project I do on all the other days. Yeah, let me grab my graphics tablet and then we can work on this some more. Okay, there it is. Small little graphics tablet. The second one I ever had. I think it's in like a few years now. Still working like a charm. Come on, sorry. Dude. Okay. So, of course, I use a graphics tablet just because it's, for me at least, easier to work with, especially if you're sculpting in Blender or if you're drawing or painting in Photoshop, for example. Having the added benefit of this tip right there, which lets me apply different amounts of pressure to the tablet, just allows me to have finer control to my brush. So of course, let me select this face mesh, let me hide her hair for now. We go back to the sculpting tab, and before I begin, I record this as well because this is going to be another speed art. And there you go. Let's go. So As you can see, it's pretty rough still. That's because in the beginning you should always focus on the main shapes first. That is, the main shapes is the what do you want to call this? Main shapes are the bread and butter of every sculpt or every object that ever existed. If you look at a sphere, it might have like bumps on it and some pores even, or some holes in it. But for example, a golf ball. A golf ball is just, if you look at it from afar, you can see it's a sphere. But if you go closer, you can see, oh, it has all these bumps in there. It's not only a sphere or a ball, it's actually a golf ball. So you see that it's a ball from afar, which is possible by seeing the what do you call them, big shapes or the main shapes, and then the medium and small shapes are used to detail your objects more, which I'm gonna go over with this character in maybe tomorrow, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. What I'll do first is just adjusting her face a little bit. She looks, I think, a little bit too old. Also, let's pull out her collarbone some more. I think that looks kind of flat. Too flat, in my opinion. Okay. Today I found a really good sculpt. Let me see if I can find it. I want to show you. I don't know why, but it just looks so. You know, I really appreciate when someone can sculpt the human face, like a human face or a human head, with basically not a lot of detail, but you can just see everything that you need. I'm going to show you what I mean. Let me go to Pinterest. I saved it on Pinterest. There you go. It's an ArtStation. Oh, nope. Visit the website. Okay, so what I mean is... let me switch my view. Screen cap, and there you go. And this is what I mean. You can see that she has like clothes on right there. You can see that she has hair, or like, if you want to call it hair, I would see it as hair. And you can also just see her eyebrows, and all the details are in there. There are no pores, but that's not really necessary because you can see all the main shapes, as I said before. You can see them in here, and she already looks like a real, like it could be a real person. And I don't know, it just looks so like realistic, but yet so simple. No pores, no stretch marks, no folds, or what do you call them again? Sponge brain. Come on. Okay, let me pull it up. I just completely blanked. Wrinkles, of course, no wrinkles. But just the main shapes can create so much character in a character or a person. You see, so just having good proportions and then applying the base shapes of face just beautifully can create a person just like that. You don't even have to add stuff like pores to make a character look like a character. Usually you can already see, for example, in a likeness sculpt of a celebrity, for example, you can usually already see the person in that sculpt in the first few, not subdivision, like resolution sizes. Usually if you make a character, you go off of either you make it off of a sphere and then just add more and more resolution, or you use a base mesh that you then just change so that it looks like a celebrity. And usually even in the beginning you can already see what character they're going for. So of course, right here you can see that perfectly. You can see her collarbone and all that, just enough definition, her nose, her lips, her eyes, just everything just looks perfectly like that. Also, just a little bump in there just adds a little bit more character. This protruding forehead or muscles right there. I don't know. This is just one of those sculpts I just discovered today, and I just maybe not awestruck, but really inspired by it. Maybe I want to make a series of just like the sculpts or character sculpts where I'm only focusing on the main shapes. So they will probably take like 3 hours or so. And then I'm gonna go over to another character like the next day or something. Maybe I'll do that at some point because I really want to get better at the main shapes. And just getting better at putting the fundamentals in your face or in the character's face. Okay, switch back to Blender. Oh, I pointed in the wrong direction. Okay, I gotta learn that. Okay. So one thing also I learned is this nose can maybe be a little bit rounded just there. Okay, like that. Also, I have my... Oh, I need to make a new chat box. Let's go in here. Can I not join this? Why can I not? Why can I not? Well, let's just make it smaller. Then I can make a vertical split. Okay, let's just... Okay, hold on. Throw an area. Throw an area. Throw an area. There you go. Then we can make a vertical split. Let me see if that's set up correctly. Oh, needs to be wider. Like that. Okay, now we have a room to speak. Text editor, okay. Also, we need our reference. Pull that up. Put that into 2. Vertical split. There you go. Image editor. Where's the character? Right there. There you go. Okay. Now I usually do use this as a still frame. So it's just easier for the speed art to see, especially if I make small changes like changing the camera angle every second. That just looks weird if you increase the speeds by like 2000 or something. So I usually just make this camera have a good perspective on the character, so you can see the changes in there without being like what do you call it, like having to vomit because you can't see all the changes in here. Okay, so what I wanted to change is first a rule for the eye size and eye position is, if you go in here and use the mouse, I can show you what I mean. First rule is usually your inner corner of the eye should be at the same horizontal height as the corner of your nose or your nostrils. So if you paint that in, maybe make it straight actually. That you can see it should be something like this, so that your corner of this eye, the inner corner, hits the outer corner of your nose. And then another one to see the width to the outside or the outer corner of the eye. You go in here into the middle of the lip, upper lip, and then just paint. Oh, that was too far. Paint in here to the nostril, basically to the same point, and then just keep going until, okay, let me actually do something better. What we can do is just go into orthographic view first. That looks kind of weird. We can then say, go in here and say stroke, put that to line. There you go. And now if we paint that in, we can make a line like that. That's the first. And then we can go in here, make sure you were hitting the line, or the line hits the nostril. And there you go. Usually your inner corner should be right there. vertically or horizontally, and then going from the middle of your lip, upper lip, hitting the outer part of the nose, and then going further to the height of the eye. That should be where your eye eye width ends, or your outer corner should be located at. So actually this looks pretty okay. Oh, hello. This actually looks pretty okay. So I thought maybe I should change the size of the eye, but maybe I should just change the size of the eyeball. Let's see, how big are they? I mean, they're pretty okay. I could maybe increase them a little bit, just because I think my eyeball, if you look at it in material preview, you can see the eyeball itself, I mean the iris is pretty big. If you then go back to rendered view, they're a little bit smaller, and I think what I have to add is a small, let's see, if we rotate that by 1, I think that adds a little bit more realism. Let's see. Okay. So usually eyes are not looking just straight forward or even like point to a certain point. Of course, if you focus on something, you see that focus point like sharp, but your eyes never look completely at the same point. So basically, if you do like this move where you try to focus on your nose, that's not really what your eyes usually do. What your eyes do is they like have a small deviance from each other. So if you, for example, have your eyes look like this, you're not really actually looking straight forward, but your eyes have like a small like tilt to the left or right, depending on which side they're on. So my eyes would probably be like tilted a little bit to the outside. That's just how the eyes are set up, at least how I understand it. So I just added a 1% rotation to the eyes. Let's see, it should be applied to the other eye as well. Go back to solid view. Did it apply the same? It should add. I mean, it's just 1%, but yeah. I use the Wacom. Let me see. I have it for so long I can't even remember the. Oh, I think it's the Wacom Intuos something. This model you can't really buy anymore, but if you're interested in graphics tablets, Wacom definitely has. At least I would buy a new one from them if I would be in need of a new one. So that would be my recommendation. I had another one before that, which was a little bit bigger. Like, as you can see right there. Can you see that? Let's see. Nope. Can we plug it out? Nope. So, oh. Okay, I might. Because I plugged, like, oh my god. My Basecam is frozen because I unplugged my graphics tablet. Are you serious? Okay, hold on. What if I plug it in again? Nope. Okay, take support back at it again. What's going on here? Oh my god. what is the correlation between these two? Can I just reload it? Capture device. Nope. Settings. Let me switch that. Deactivate. Activate. Ah, easy. Okay. Easy peasy. Yeah. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, easy. So now you can see it. This is my graphics tablet. Kind of worn in the middle now because of the pen. You can see two what are they, buttons up here too, and then you can see up here too as well. It's pretty small, as you can see, but I've used this for a long time, so I'm used to this small size. Also, having the big one, this Interest Pro, I think it's called. I think that's too big for my desk, so I just kept the small one. And yeah, I'm used to it now, so it's not really a problem. This one you can't buy anymore. The newer ones, let me just quickly see which ones they sell now. I just recently looked at them. I think it's even not called Wacom, but a Wacom. Go to Wacom, to the website. Let's see. Yeah, I accept. You can see my screen right now, I know, but I'll just pull up the product first and then I can show you what I mean. You can either have one with a screen or without one. Which the one I have doesn't have a screen. That's just because the one with the screen would be too big for my desk. So you can choose between. So you can actually choose between 3 different ones. There's one where you can have a screen where you can basically just paint on it. There's one that is just a display, I think. No, wait. Okay. Oh, okay. There's basically a tablet mode or a tablet pad, like tablet, where you can not only like have a screen on it, but you can actually work like as if it was a computer, if I see that correctly. Then you can have just a display where you can work on it. You have your usual tablets without a screen, and then I think there's a special edition where you can like put a paper on it and then draw with your usual pencil on it, and it would actually record your brush or your pencil strokes and would digitalize them later when you're done. If I go to the Wacom Intuos, right there. Okay, of course this is like, can I just change the North America English? Okay, so let me switch my view. As I learned before, easy. So as you can see right here, those are the new models. This is basically the same pen, if I see that correctly. Maybe small changes were made. The buttons are now in the center, but it's basically the same system. You can have them either wireless or with a wire. I have mine with a wire. If you want to have them wireless, you need a Bluetooth adapter. Basically you get a USB stick, I think, and then also like an adapter you can plug into your tablet, and then you can have it wireless. And actually they now have like smaller version of the one I have, and also a bigger version. So I have the one that's not available anymore, and which is right in the middle of these 2 sizes. You want to see more specifics? There it is, specifications. You can have small or in small and medium, which is, there you go, 200 by 160 millimeters, or in inches as well, or 264 by 200. Those are the specifications. In either green or black. I have the black one, as I saw before. Yep. And as you can see right here, either Bluetooth or USB. Yeah, I think I have mine now like multiple years. I think I bought this one probably like 5 years ago or something, and it's still working. So yeah, definitely a quality product. I would recommend buying from them. I haven't really tested any other tablets. There are probably like other ones as well that are good, but I have only experience with Wacom and one other tablet. What do you call them? Not producer, but like seller, or yeah, seller. And they weren't as, or that tablet wasn't as good as this one. So yeah, I would recommend Wacom. Okay, on to sculpting. Go to sculpting, we're already in sculpting. Go to sculpt mode, and let's go back into it. I also changed the... Oh, I didn't. Let's put that to 85. I changed the focal length. This can really impact the character appearance. For example, if I go into this view, and now I just changed the focal length, you can see I, for once, go further away. But also, if we, for example, if we say we are at 30 millimeters and we go close to it, you can see how far back the ears are and how big the nose is. If we then change the focal length to more... Oh, no, okay, you can see some insane distortions right there. Or what you can do is put this to a more, like a higher focal length, for example, 100. And you can see the face looks way flatter. It's still 3D view, it might look weird, but like having a different focal length can really change the appearance of the sculpt or the character in your model, and also in your photographs. So if you, for example, make a selfie and your camera in your phone usually has a low focal length. For example, I think it was like maybe, I don't know what it is in your phone, but even 50, going pretty close to your face, your nose gets really big. If you are too close to your face with your camera, like that, for example, you can't even see the nose anymore. But it's the same perspective. Just the focal length can change a person so much in its appearance. So what I do is I probably leave it at 50. That's what I usually use. But I heard the tip, if you make like likeness sculpts, for example, if you know what the focal length of the image was, it's recommended to change the focal length of your viewport display as well to the same. Of course, that's just a game screenshot or a game render, so I don't really know what the focal length was. One thing I wanted to check is the depth of the mouth. Usually what I saw was that the horizontally, or vertically actually, the chin is on the same axis as the forehead, and the corner of your mouth is between the corner of your nose and the eye. So somewhere around there between those two. One thing I wanted to change is the skull shape, and also the let's just pull this down. Of course, if you want to make bigger changes, you can go back to a lower resolution. That's just easier then. Put to 1 maybe, or actually in the sculpt, put that to 1. And now you have to move less geometry, which just makes it easier. Pull the head down a little bit. Also, what I saw was that the jaw or the ear is usually either in the middle of the skull or a little bit behind the middle of the skull. So what I will do is maybe pull this neck a little bit more forward, and there you go. Usually my head sculpts were pretty long, and I think that looks better now. Okay. So I think so the worst part about this character is that there aren't really, like, the only thing you know of her are the few trailers you saw, because the game only like releases in a few months. So you just have a few sources of reference, and I just have to work with those. So this, I mean, I'm not the best at likeness sculpting. I'm still trying to get better, but even if I had like the skills to do it, the likeness wouldn't probably be best, just because of the reference I would have, or I actually have. Let me just quickly pull up my reference and then we can go work on this some more. Right there. You can't see the reference because it's my own small reference window. I can't record that except for when I go into screen recording, and that is just because I don't know, if I record that window, it's just black. That may be because of the setting that so with this pure ref is basically the program I use. I can show you what I mean, or what that looks like. Screen cap, there you go. You can see it right there. That's my basically all my reference I have. Those are just screenshots from all the videos of her and all the angles I could find, with some detailed shot like this one and some broader shots like different angles, how she looks from behind or like that. And this is basically my reference sheet. I can just I can move pictures around in here. I have multiple, just move them somewhere I want. And so this is basically an overlay, this window. I can just, by right clicking and move it somewhere I want. And even if I work in Blender, it still stays on top of the screen or this window. It basically has a setting that allows it to stay on top of every other window, which is really useful if you use this for reference. But this setting, I think, is the reason you can't see or you can't record this window. At least that's what I think. If I record that, that's just a black square, which isn't really helpful. So now you saw my reference, my secret reference. Okay, so I think the face itself is okay now. I'm gonna change the neck a little bit more, just getting some more definition in there. As you can see, her collarbone just is way more defined. So we go back to the Sculpt layer 2, subdivision level 2 basically, which just adds more resolution to your character and allows you to add more detail. What I also saw in the sculpt I showed you before of the very simple but really realistic woman was that there's like this hole in here where just it's not too crazy, but that's basically where the shoulder muscle basically go from here to the middle of the arm. You have some that go further into the chest region, but the main part stays in here and then has this back shoulder, which goes something like this. And then you have your neck, your spine, of course, you can see. Then you have your neck muscles, which not only go from here up here. Your shoulder stops somewhere here. You have your collarbone stopping right there, which is basically where your shoulder is. Kind of pointy right now, but just to show you. Then you have your different sections in your shoulder. I think you have 3 main shapes. And then, of course, your latissimus that goes down here. You have your neck bones. Neck muscles, which go basically to the middle, and then you have this like arrow shape, like that. Kind of rough. I think I'm missing something. You also like just the way I painted it on. And then you have some smaller muscles in here. I think it's like set up like this, I think. Could be the other way around. And then you have your lower back, basically down here, which goes, I think, like that. That looks kind of weird. I think I haven't painted everything perfectly, but it's as a general anatomy quick tip or quick lesson, just to show you what the muscles actually look like. Let me just quickly smooth that out because we don't really need it. She has clothes on, so no need for muscle definition. Okay. Still don't know why there are these weird pink islands. I think they are created by the... Which one is it? The Draw Face set? Oh, there you go. Okay, so can I just remove those? No? Hello? Oh. Okay, wait, hold on. So if I press Control, I can... No, wait, what? Mask. Clear mask. Face sets. Okay, that's not really shrinking. Bro. Okay, let's do that again. Again. Okay, now it's fixed. Okay. I have no idea what that was. Okay, on to some more sculpting. So let's define her collarbone a little bit more. Let's remove this right there. Okay. Usually keep in mind that the female figure is more smooth than the male, just as a general rule. Of course, there are always exceptions to the rule, but in general. Also keep in mind the Adam's apple. Still, everybody has one, not only men. They're just more prominent in men. Like that. Okay, smooth that out some more. And also I kind of want to make her a little bit younger, so we can smooth her fat at her jaw, make the jaw a little bit more defined, not too much. Okay. I think that looks okay. We could maybe pull this down a little bit more. Okay. The neck can be more slender, especially down here. Okay. That looks better. I think... Let me bring back the... Oh, the hair. The problem with especially like characters, like female characters with like huge eyelashes and especially like hair, and she has this huge hat, it's kind of hard to see if the character resembles like, or the sculpt resembles the character, just because there's so much that just adds to the overall appearance of a character. So if I would probably add some, I mean, we can do that real quick. What I did before was just add a mask for the, oh, switch that back to a stroke. Just adding a mask and basically drawing on stuff like the eyebrows can give you a general idea if your character looks actually like your, like the character you want to recreate. But still, especially with the eyes, if you can't see the iris in the solid view, you can't. It's kind of hard to see if that's actually, if that looks like the character you want to recreate. So I mean, if you add, for example, these like aggressive or seducing eyebrows, she kind of looks like more like her. But I think even if that's not really completely like a likeness sculpt, I think I'm just gonna work with this and add detail. I'm not gonna like obsess over making her perfect and making her a perfect likeness sculpt. Usually it's better to finish projects than to make one perfect project, because if you make multiple, you can start over and correct your mistakes right away. And then you have multiple projects done and you can see your progress. Then rather than just working on one project the whole time and just getting this one done, and you can't compare it to anything else because you've only worked on that. But you can see really if you've made any progress, just because there's nothing to compare it to. Okay. Yeah, I mean, even if it's not perfect, I'm gonna keep it like that. Let's save it real quick, and then we can add another subdivision. There you go. Now everything is actually, let's go back one subdivision again. I want to do something real quick, which is just pulling down her eyelids. So what I'll do is make this bagginess a little bit more prominent. Pretty easy, pretty simple. There isn't that much geometry, so I can't really put in more detail. We can do that with the next subdivision. I just wanted to make this more prominent and also pull this in a little bit. Also, one thing I learned is the general shape of the face. If you look from the top, it's more like a U shape rather than just a flat box. If you look from the bottom, you can see it better. Actually, so if you look from the front, you can't really see it. If you look just at a face, it can look quite flat. But if you especially look from the top, remove the hair, you can see it's not really just like a box. It's rather like an oval egg shape where the face is thinner or slimmer than the back of the head. And also, like, if you look at it from up top, it's more like a U shape where the face is at the front of the head rather than just a flat plane. That's, I think, one thing you always have to keep in mind. Sometimes I still forget that. And I saw a few like beginner sculpts that made that mistake as well. There was one sculpt I did a while ago, which kind of really hit the likeness aspect of the sculpt. I think I had like perfect reference, and I think I was able to trace it pretty good. And I think that's still one of my favorite sculpts I did. Just because, I don't know, in the end it looked just pretty good. Okay, so next up. Let me first of all, so this fat up here, this fat pad should cover the eyelid, or at least maybe not everything, but at least part of it. So I mask this one so this won't get moved. We can then invert the mask. Actually, nope, not invert the mask. That's not what we want. Add this to the mask as well. And now we can select this mesh and pull it down. So it's more saggy and more on the over the eyelid. Like that. Make sure that this is still tapering out like that. And there you go. Looks kind of sharp right now because there isn't enough resolution, but we can fix that by going one subdivision level higher. And there you go. Looks way more organic now. Okay. Maybe we could go in here using more Oh, I used the wrong brush. Use the crease brush. Just pulling this further forward. Okay, making this an actual fold like that. Looks better. Okay. just making it smoother. Okay. Then maybe adding some more volume in there, just to sell the fact that it's like fat deposit under the skin. Just small changes, not a lot of strength on the brush. Okay. Now it comes to smaller changes, because we're going to go over to more detailed parts. Adding some more of the detailed characteristics, like defining the fat pad some more, or stuff like the shapes you can define some more. You can add wrinkles and not maybe pores. Pores should be later, but these bigger wrinkles, like for example for her, you can see them in the corner of her mouth, right there, her smile wrinkles, if you want to call it that. That's what we can do now. So she has quite deep creases in here, if I see that correctly in there. So let's put them in there. Also add some more volume to the eyes. Okay. Also, the eyelids are have quite a sharp edge on the outside, so let's put that in there. Like that. Easy peasy. Okay. The eyelid itself is quite flat on the top. Okay. Not too sharp though, keep that in mind. Okay. Now, next up, the top part. So one aspect I still struggle with, because I don't really understand it, is the intersection between the upper eyelid and the lower eyelid, especially at the outer corner. If you look at it, so you basically have, like, for your mouth and also your eyes, you have these muscles that just go around your eye and your mouth, and like in here you have two eyelids like just merging, and I don't know how they merge. Like there's one muscle going like over here and there's one going over here, but how do they, like, does one just go over the other, or I have no idea. So it always seems like they just merge into one, but I don't know, it just feels weird to like just accept that, because it's, I don't know. Okay. Let's detail her nose some more, not too much. Keep in mind this is a female face, so smoothness should still be there, not too defined. The nose can be quite defined though, especially the, what do you call that, the nasolabia fold, I think it's called. This outer corner basically where the nostril hits the rest of the face, or the nostril sits on the rest of the face, the base, like that. Okay, just adding this crease, just adding a little bit more character, more uniqueness. Okay. She also, if you look at a different image, you can't really see it. Let me see if I can pull up the reference. Actually, no, never mind. It's kind of hard to see. Oh, just adding these small creases somewhere. Adds just a little bit more definition. Combine that with the smooth brush, and even small changes can have big impacts. Put that maybe to a 0.4 even, or 0.3. You can see I'm applying quite a bit of pressure, but it's not really changing much. So you can more easily do smaller adjustments without having to reset too much. Okay. Today I saw everybody's playing Valheim. I think that's a new game on Steam. Looked kind of cool. I saw it's like a survival game. The thing though is, I mean, it looked kind of like it's hitting the interest of me when it comes to survival games. I prefer survival games that are more loot or adventure driven rather than RPG driven. For example, some like Rust is more like an RPG survival game. This is more about the interaction between players and not so much about getting the best loot, or I mean you can build good like cool bases, so that's one aspect I like. But Rust is more like a RPG survival game, where stuff like Minecraft or Valheim also looked like more like a game that would be about loot and adventure rather than more about building out your personal character in terms of how you would act or how you would act and all that. It's more about exploring the world because it's also procedurally generated rather than RPG. No, wait. What is it? Role playing, yeah, or RPing basically. The visuals are more voxel-like, so pretty low in terms of like model. Like the models don't have that much detail, but I think they set more focus on the general vibe and feel when you play the game. So they spend way more time actually making the world look like big and magical. For example, you have these volumetrics, as I explained today, or like just weather changes, thunderstorms or tsunamis, as I read, and they set more focus on the environment rather than the individual looks of characters or monsters. And doesn't mean that voxel, like the voxel style necessarily is like bad or anything. But some people are like not really interested in games like that. They want the best graphic and best like visual style and all that, or visual like realism. But I'm more like a person that can appreciate a nicely executed art style. Okay, now we can add some more details like the love wrinkle. Okay. Just very small, very subtle, but it does what it's supposed to. Also down here you have a small wrinkle on the chin, not too big, like that. Easy peasy. There you go. Maybe even too defined right now. Okay. Oh, you can't see it anymore. Okay, that, yeah. I'll just leave it like that for now. We could also add some more detail to the nose and to the lips. I don't think I'm gonna like create pores with sculpting. I'm also not gonna make a texture. I'm just gonna use a procedural texture, because usually that looks pretty okay. It's not gonna look like super realistic, but I think it's gonna do the job. If I would want to make this character photorealistic, I would probably paint my own bump map for the pores, but I think that's gonna take too much time. So I'm not gonna do that. Okay. Let me add a little bit more volume to the nasolabia fold, basically the fat path that goes from the nose all the way down to the like cheek. There's some volume in here that's still missing. Just a little bit more fat. That's usually one of the first parts of the face that begins to droop or like fall down when you get older. You can see that when older people smile, for example, or even when you smile. That's the part that your corners of your mouth basically gets pulled backwards into your, like if you look at this, you can pull them back, and as you can see, now she's smiling. But what's staying is this fold up there. It's basically fat, which doesn't get pulled to the back just as much as the muscle, which is why you have these puffy cheeks if you smile. Let me add some more volume to this muscle right here, or this fat pad actually. This is not a muscle, this is just fat. I misspoke the other time. The muscle is underneath this fat pad. Not too defined, one more as well. Okay. Actually, she has her like laughing wrinkles or whatever you want to call those a little bit higher, like there. Still kind of like maybe not scared, but still don't really know if the posing part is gonna just go like work as I plan it. Maybe not, but we're not there yet, so who cares? Always keep in mind to not make your upper lip too sharp. Always keep it pretty round, especially the upper lip. Or, I mean, both lips should be pretty round. People I saw sometimes make these, especially like the transition from the lip to the rest of the face, They might make it quite sharp, so they put in these sharp corners up here, which can sometimes it can add more realism, but if you do it wrong, it can also look more like unrealistic. So just leave that out in the beginning. Okay. We could add some more detail to the lips. But of course we haven't really done much today, at least with her. But I explained how you can add more atmosphere to your scene. We of course did our first 30-minute quick sketch, which came out pretty okay. And we also just worked on this some more. Of course, this is more like a project that's gonna be picked up every time we're basically done with all the other stuff I want to do on that day. So this one will take a little bit longer to complete. But tomorrow I had something planned. Let's see. I had a few ideas that I wanted to do. Let's see. I think tomorrow... So I had one. So usually my schedule would be... So on Monday I want to like make it like an informative video. And then on Tuesday I want to make like a more fun video of like a project or a challenge or something like that. And then Wednesday and Thursday are more like laid back, maybe talking about some topics and just working on my main project, her basically. And tomorrow, what we could do is... So, oh. Wait, what? Again? Oh my god. Why? Welcome back. Thanks for rating me again. Yeah, hi. So kind of a weird timing because I'm always already like done streaming. I mean, I can show you what I did today if you're interested. But first of all, thanks for rating me again, Dynasty. I think I know how to pronounce your name. So what I did today was first of all I explained how you can add atmosphere to your scene. For example, if I have like an example in here, I'll just pull up an example real quick where I can show you what I did. I usually just do quick sketches every 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes of a stream is basically a quick sketch. If I now pull up one of those, I can show you what I explained today. Basically how you can add volumetrics to your scene, stuff like dust or particles flying in the air. This one's basically just done using one single object, where I added a particle setting or a particle simulation and also a volume shader, which then you can add, for example, to create more atmosphere in your scene to make it look more realistic, and also add more depth by, if you look, for example, down there, these lights are more dim because there's more dust in the air, which creates the effect of depth, which is basically what I explained today. And that was the tutorial basically for today. And the rest was just working on this character. I basically want to make a fan art of... Wait, let me switch the character right there. Of her, the Resident Evil villain. That's gonna be in the next Resident Evil I think on March is releasing. Thanks everybody for following. Let me make of course Mechanith her. I'm sorry, I can't like probably mispronouncing that. Mayera Kungulani. Yeah, so what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to hit her likeness with the sculpt. I'm still kind of like a noob in likeness sculpting, especially with characters like her, because she has like huge eyelashes and her head and everything like is in the way of her face. You can really see her face, which is kind of hard then to make a likeness sculpt out of her, or make one which looks like her. But maybe if I add like the hair, I have the rough hair right here, and her some eyelashes, maybe it looks kind of like her. And then I'm gonna finish her model, adding her some clothing as well, and then give her a pose. And that's basically the scene, which is probably gonna take a while. But that's the main project that's always gonna take a while. Oh, dude, you're too kind. I saw you've been doing some more Unreal Engine like experiments or like studies. The day you rated me, I looked into your stream and you were doing some experiments with particles as well, which looked kind of interesting. You kind of inspired me to recreate the same you did in Unreal Engine in Blender, with the cubes emitting from the ground basically, and then slowing down as they go up, which looked kind of cool. Yep, so definitely interesting stuff you do as well. Yep, so as I said before, it's basically the end of my stream, but thanks for rating me anyway. Always very appreciated. And yeah, hope everybody that's still watching, hope everybody has a great evening or a great midday, whatever your time is right now. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of your day, and yep, stay awesome.